That's recording, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
So it's on. Alright.
Action.
Hello, I'm Jake. I'm Jake Burnett and I'm helping out with the Shoes project, like cameraman, helping out with sound, and yeah.
So them shoes you're wearing, right?
Yeah.
Where were you at in your life when you first bought them?
I got these when I was getting my first job after I finished college, and I'll look at you, yeah. I got these shoes when I was applying for my first job, which was at a care home where my mum was the manager, and yeah, like she made me wear a whole suit to the interview. So I got these shoes, these trousers actually, and I had like a blazer and a shirt, and yeah, I got the job, and I worked in the care home for like a year. I was on bank staff for like quite a few care homes. So I worked in the end of life unit, a dementia care home unit, and a brain injury unit, and I mained in the brain injury. And yeah, that was quite interesting.
End of life.
Yeah.
What
end
does
of
that
life. So, you know, when you're basically on the brink of death and you're just so old that you have to lie in a bed and have me like wipe your ass. That's pretty much it, yeah. And people die and then new people come.
Conveyor belt of to the pearly gates sort of thing.
Yeah. And then like sometimes you have people like going to hospital and they go to St Anne's, which I always heard was that's where you go when you're definitely going to die, and that's like right next to the Conquest. So I haven't got a good picture of St Anne's because of that. I just imagine it's like a graveyard inside.
Wow. It must have done something to you, Jake.
Well, I guess it made me see like what it's like when you're that age, and it shows you. I don't know. Yeah, you just get a weird sight that you don't see because you don't see that sort of thing every day, like people with brain injuries and people dying, and.
And how, when you first had to confront looking after someone that intimately?
I mean, the first time I started the job, it really freaked me out because obviously I'd never encountered that sort of thing, and I was proper shaking actually. I was like, what do I do? Because I suppose you'd be like that in any job, but this one more so because I'm there and there's this guy like punching me like fuck off, like what are you doing? And I was just like, what is going on? And you just got to deal with it and kind of accept it. But once you get over it, it's fine. It's just like any other job.
What did you discover about yourself, though, being able to, manage? Because that's not something everybody could do. They would have run away from that, I'm sure.
I don't know. I didn't really think about it, really. Like, when you just get used to it, it's just like the norm. Like, I'm just going to go look after some people. I mean, yeah, it was fun, like, learning about people, because everyone's got, like, stories. And it was fun, like, I became friends with a lot of them. But then, like, that's quite, like, a bad thing when they die, because then it's just like, whoa, I was their friend and they're just gone. Like, I was chatting to this old lady, and I was, like, friends with her, and I went off for a week to go to a different care home, came back, and, like, suddenly her room was empty because she died. And I was just, like, taken back for a second, like...
What was her name?
Oh, I can't remember now, but there was a lot of people there. But, yeah, I mean, she was a really nice lady, and it's quite, upsetting. And then one guy, who I was really close with, well, not really close, I just mean like good friends, but he was called Ken, and he had like a tracheostomy, where it's like you got a tube coming out your neck, so he could breathe through that, and he was like recovering, and they were going to take that out, but then they found out he had lung cancer, and then, he just kind of died. And I found out after I quit the job. I got like my new monthly newsletter from where I used to work, and it was like he passed away, and I ended up crying because I knew him, and I was he was a good mate.
Did people get visited?
Yeah, a lot. Like we work closely with the families, especially in the brain injury unit. And the family were always there.
What's the youngest person you ever dealt with in the brain injury unit then?
She must have been like 30, maybe 28. She was like fully paralysed. she basically done a cartwheel, landed on her neck, and just was paralysed after that. But it's quite funny, like, not that accident obviously, but she used to like go out drinking still, because she had a little pipe to have food, and her dad would take her out and she'd have like vodka shots in her stomach pump thing.
How did she register being drunk?
Well, we'd have like this sheet with like colours and letters, and you'd be like red, green, blue, and like if she looks up, that's yes, and then you go along the letters, and then you write down the words that she's writing, and that's how we communicated. And, you know, she'd just say, or, I don't know, she'd like look a bit weird or something, like laughing. Like she could still laugh and stuff, but not speaking. Yeah.
So that was the first. So you wore those shoes. You bought the shoes when you had to get a proper job.
Yeah, it was
after
my
college.
first job, like first proper employment.
And that lasted a year.
Yeah, I'd done that for like a year, then I went to uni, and then I just packed it in. Yeah.
Okay. So where are you at with the shoes now?
I guess what I think of them now is my getting it done shoes, like, because like I'm really impatient actually. Like I'm severely impatient. If I think of something, I want it done there and then. It's like I don't know what it is. Like I may not seem impatient, or I might, but say if I've got an idea in my head, if it's not done then, I'll just lose all interest. I'm very like in the moment, I suppose.
So you're getting it done shoes. Say a little bit more about that. You put them shoes on, saying, right, I'm going to get it done.
It feels like you're getting it done because they make that kind of work noise. Like when you walk across the wood, I quite like the noise, and it's like, I don't know, you feel like you're going to get some work done when you put them on.
And do you?
I guess I do, yeah.
Yeah, you get a lot of stuff done?
I do like getting stuff done. Yeah, I suppose that goes with being impatient. Like, I can't wait around. If there's something on my website that needs changing, I need to do it there and then, or I start complaining. Like, I work with Indiana, and say if I have a thing like, oh, we need this doing, I'll just keep ringing him until it's done. Like, keep bugging him. Because, yeah, I want it done. Get it done.
What's the next thing to get done? How much further are them shoes going to take you?
Quite a while, I hope. I mean,
Yeah.
like, most of my shoes, they get like a... Well, you know your big toe, yeah? The ball of your big toe? That always burns a hole in your shoe. It always does in mine. And that's kind of annoying. So hopefully that's going to hold out a bit longer. And my heel always burns a hole in the back of the shoe. Because I get things done so much.
So you almost set fire to your shoes then?
Yeah, I think so. I remember I had this t-shirt when I was a kid, and apparently my dad said it was from sweating so much, but there was literally holes burnt in the armpit, and like a lot of my t-shirts go yellow from sweating so much, because I push it so hard. No, I'm joking. No, like say I'm skating or something, I do just go too hard. I push too hard, and Indiana's seen it. Like I skate so hard that I'm just so frustrated and like in the zone that I need to get this trick done before I can go, even if I feel like I'm going to die. And yeah, I guess I end up pushing too hard a lot of the time.
That doesn't entirely fit with being with the elderly and the severely disabled.
Yeah,
You must have had to have found a bit of... You must have had to have slowed up a bit for that.
Yeah, I mean...
You can't just say, right, I'm here to get it done.
No, you can't. You've got to take your time with that
Yeah.
sort of thing. I guess I can do both things, but I mean, like, what was hardest was like, because I'm not very good at talking that much. But well, I don't think I am, because when I was in the care home, like there'd be this paralysed woman there, and I've got to talk to her while I'm working. It's like, what the hell do I talk about?
Because you'd be holding up the conversation all on your own.
I mean, yeah, she'd just be looking at me going yes or no, and I'll be like chatting shit. Like, I don't know what to talk about. So I just end up I don't know. I don't really know what I talk about, just anything. You get a bit nervous, you're like, hell. You kind of just look around their room and see what they like and just talk about that. Yeah, it's kind of hard.
If they could take you anywhere before you burn them out completely through getting things done, where would you go?
I've always wanted to go to Tokyo. That would be a great place because it's so like weird. and it's quite an appealing place to go to, I think.
Right.
And
Are you serious about it? I mean, are you going to save up and...
it would be great. I haven't saved any money or anything. But I guess another place would be South Korea, because there's a big gaming scene there. There's this game StarCraft, it's like huge there, and like it's this esports they call it. And yeah, it's like they're really serious about gaming. That would be interesting to see, because they literally, 12 hours a day train to play a game, to like win a competition maybe, and that's how a lot of them earn a living.
We're talking about online games, right?
Yeah, online games, like they just call it electronic sports, and it's like become quite big now. That'd be just interesting to see like their dedication to a game, because there's videos online of this game, like I said, StarCraft, and you see them playing. You see their fingers moving on the keyboard, and it's so fast because they know exactly what they're doing. They've got twitch muscles for their fingers, just going. Shh. It's pretty cool.
Does anyone have another question that came up from that? Sandra?
Pull it out and then now pull. Yeah, just pull. Yeah, pull. Yeah.
Alright,
It's a bit old, that tripod.
that's fine. No, I was trying to figure out how to lift it up, and I was trying to hold it higher, but my
I've got
hands are shaky. So.
One more question.
Yeah.
If you could time travel in them shoes, if they were time travelling shoes, where would you go?
To the future.
You would
See technology. Like,
see what happened.
happens. Yeah, that'd be great. I wouldn't go to the past because, your phone's not going to work in the past. My computer's not going to work. That sounds terrible. But they're not too far in the future when, all the power's gone and oil's dried out. Just a little bit in the future. But then I'd want to come back so I don't die when the big catastrophe.
Better take a sandwich from home.
Take a sandwich, yeah. It's a peanut butter sandwich and a banana. Get some potassium.
Sandra, you had a question for Jake.
Let me think. I have to roll back in my head where I was.
That was a good interview.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
that was, yeah. That job. Yeah,
Yeah.
an extraordinary job.
Yeah.
An extraordinary
So-
job.
It
Being
was
close to
weird.
death, I think, is a kind of privilege. Because
There was one guy I remember called Arthur. I don't know if he's still alive. He was like 100, and he used to say like, "Oh, the only reason he made it here is because he used to cycle everywhere when he was a kid." And like, I don't know, he would always repeat his stories because he was so old. Even though his mind's going a bit, but yeah, he determined that cycling keeps you alive to 100. Yeah.
Sandra, have you?
Yes,
Roll
I
back.
did it. I think just moving from there to here wiped it out. Oh no, what was
Well,
it?
I guess tough things in the care home to come across is like people with severe dementia. There was one lady who was like really gone, and she kept telling me, like, basically I was told don't go to her room, otherwise she will report you for sexually abusing her, even if you haven't done anything. And then she was pulling me, like everyone left the room, like all of the other carers, and then she came up to me and started trying to drag me into her room, and I was like, no, I need to go over here now. And she was like, come on Jake, you look so fine. And I was just like, no, like I'm not having this, like I need to hide somewhere till the other carers get back. But luckily, well, I don't know, not luckily, but she got taken out in sections.
They do say that a lot of elderly people do have sex majorly on their minds.
Oh yeah,
Was
there
that your
one woman,
experience?
actually, I don't know, she was very old and like very scared, and like she just snapped from being a very nice old lady to being completely insane. And she came out like, oh, can I have some dinner, dear? And I was like, yeah, sure, like sit here, here's your dinner. And then the next thing later, like, oh, you gay? Like, for God's sake, you like cock toucher, like. I don't know, she just turned and like was just abusing me kind of, but you do get kind of angry in that situation, but obviously you don't do anything because you know you're not supposed to. But I was just like, oh my god, I need to step away from this. But then other things that are tough is not the abuse, because you do get abused quite a bit, but like the physical state they're in. Like there's one lady whose legs had just expanded, I don't know why, they were like tree trunks. She's just lying there in pain, and that's like a really horrid thing to see. And like people going through like emotional struggles, because like say they've had a stroke and like they're all there but then they can't move a bit and they're just like really upset. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah.
Did you come away with any like lessons? Like did it change you in any way?
Well, it made me not want to get old even more, and don't get a brain injury is the main thing, because it changes you. You're a completely different person. Well, most people are completely different with a brain injury. You're not going to be the same person after that. Like I heard Michael Schumacher had a brain injury. He's probably completely different now. Like, you are changed. I mean, it's your brain, you're damaged. Like, that's it, really.
I met a young woman in the college doing leg waxing and beauty. She was trying to get a different career because she'd been working in an old people's home. And I said, okay, so what did you learn? And she said, well, I learned to have a big family.
Right.
Because I meet too many elderly people who are isolated, completely isolated. And she talked about the funerals that she'd gone to with another member of staff because there was nobody else. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Luckily, the care home I was in, it wasn't that bad. Like, the family always came in, and none of them seemed isolated.
Good.
There was always family there. It was quite a nice care home, really. Probably one of the better ones. But yeah.
Well, your mum runs it, right?
Well, she did, yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Right.
Cool.
I think that was